Welcome back to Matea Valley Calculus Tutorials. At last we left you of solving areas using integration, and now we're going to move on to a little bit harder concept by going into 3D and finding the volume using integration. The first method we have is the disk method, which is a complete solid. If we have any function f of x and they ask us to rotate over the x-axis, we get a disk. This being our radius, and the very infinitely small thickness being dx. A formula given for volume would be the integral from a to b of pi r squared dx. The r being right here. This can also take place with respect on the y-axis. You would just have to switch to respect with y. Now, let's move on to a problem and use the disk method. So if they ask us for the function y equals the square root x plus 2 rotated around y equals 2 from x equals 0 to 4, find the volume. So first, we would have to find the radius. So, since this is moved up 2, we'd have to subtract the function y by 2, because at y equals 2 is the line length. So our radius would be square root x. So now we just take our volume formula, and since we have to find from 0 to 4, we plug in our r that we found, and solve the integral. And after all integration, you come to the answer of 8 pi. And that is disk method. Now let's move on to another concept also used to find volume, is the washer method. The washer method differs from the disk method because you're using to find the area between two functions versus the disk, which is only one. So obviously a washer just looks like this, where it has an empty hole in the middle. So let's say the two functions being this f of x and g of x, the larger radius on the outside would be big R, or our first radius, and the one being inside, small r, or second radius. We draw a disk, and we use the formula. The volume is equal to the integral of pi big R squared minus r squared dx. Don't forget that this can also be on both the x and y axes. Now, a problem, for example, for the washer method as well. So if we are asked to find the volume of the region bounded by y cubed root x and y equals x over 4 around the y-axis, so this is a y-axis problem, from y 0 to 2. So this is the original function, and we would revolve around the y-axis, and they're asking from 0 to 2. So all we do is use our formula, is find, since this is y-axis, and we're given y is equal to, we have to rearrange this a bit. So y equals cube root x, and y equals x over 4, we have to adjust it so that we get x equals y cubed, which would be our larger radius and our smaller radius. Now, we use our formula, since now we were able to find our r's. So we first subtract our larger r, 4y squared minus y cubed squared, and we simplify that to pi 16y cubed minus y to the 6th. We plug that in to our formula, to our integral from 0 to 2, because it asks from 0 to 2. And after proper simplification, you should come out from 0 to 2, and that simplifies out to 512 pi over 21. And that is how to find volume using disk and washer method. Thank you for your time.